Hello crochet lovers, I'm Elena and this is Crochet Lovers, the channel where we learn to crochet step by step. Welcome to a new tutorial. Like every Thursday, today we'll learn to make this headband I'm wearing. It's like a turban with a central crossing which I love, but we will also learn a stitch with a texture similar to the brioche stitch with 2 needles. So let's begin the tutorial so you can start having ideas for your Christmas presents. Perfect, we'll begin with a slip knot. And we'll create as many chains as we need in order to have the perimeter for the head. On screen you'll see the suggested measures, but if you have the person available to measure their head, that's even better. We'll measure this without stretching the stitches. Remember that all yarns can be a little stretched, so we measure our perimeter without stretching the yarn. And when we have the right measure for the head size, we'll chain 1 more. And in the second chain from the hook, we'll create a half double crochet stitch. If you need to revisit the basic crochet stitches, I recommend you watch my basic course for beginners. We'll keep crocheting a half double crochet stitch in each available chain until we get to the other side. I'm working now on the last available chain, and we'll stop to check how the half double crochet stitch looks. As we know, in crochet, all stitches leave 2 loops on top. These 2 loops are located, one facing forward and the other facing back. You can see them here on each of the stitches we just made. With the half double crochets, we will have a 3rd loop that will be located to the side. Sometimes we can mistake one loop to the other on the top loops. But we have to be careful. Always, to locate the top loops, we need to see the stitch from above, so we can clearly locate the back and front loops. Once we know this, we have to keep going, so we create 1 chain, we turn over the project, and right now the side loop will be facing us. It is right at the middle of the half double crochet, and it can be seen now facing us. Like I said before, we can mistake it for a top loop. But if we see it right from above, we'll see which one is really the loop. So in each of those lateral loops, we'll crochet another half double crochet stitch. We will not be crocheting in the top loops from above. We go to the next lateral loop. We make another half double crochet stitch. Remember, we don't have to work on the top loops. And we keep doing this only on those lateral loops. This will create this texture that looks like a braid, which is what we are looking for. Once we have worked on the last lateral loop, it should look like this. Then we chain 1, turn the project over, and we should look for the same braid, but this time at the front. In order to create the braid at the front, we will be using the back loop from the 2 top loops. We'll use the one at the back, so on each back loop, we'll create a half double crochet stitch. We have to look at the stitches from the top, so we only work on the back loop. And this way, the side loop and the front loop will create the braid texture. Once more, we locate the back loop to create a half double crochet, and so on until we get to the last back loop. We create the last half double crochet, and we should have a stripe of about 3 centimeters. If we wish to make it bigger, we should crochet the 2nd and 3rd rows. We should always verify the braid texture always is located on the same side of our project. When we are done, we must cut the yarn, and then we have to crochet another stripe with the same size. We'll locate the middle of one of our stripes. We can use a marker or a yarn of a different color. And now we'll locate the base row that has the initial chains for each stripe. Once we locate it, we set it facing up. And in the other stripe, they should also be facing up. Now we will cross the stripes using the marker at the center as a reference. And we have to check that the corners match for the two stripes. We have to use some pins on each side of the marker, so we create an area of about 10 centimeters for the central crossing. Now we have to connect the two stripes to make it seem as if it were just one stripe. We'll use the chains of one stripe and the half double crochet stitches from the other one. On the half double crochet row, we'll identify the top loops and the lateral loop that should be at the back. We will be using now those to join them to the chains from the other stripe. So we go through the first lateral loop, we make a tiny knot with the yarn, and we'll sew the chains and the lateral loops. So we go through the first chain, we'll go through both loops now, and then we go through the first lateral loop, where I already had a knot, but we go through it again to make the stitch stronger. Now we'll sew in zigzag, so we go through this side, on the second lateral loop, and through the second chain with both loops from the other stripe. Now we do it the opposite way. We go through the third chain and through the third lateral loop. We continue with the fourth lateral loop and the fourth chain, and so on. We keep attaching each chain to its corresponding lateral loop on the other stripe. We will sew the rest of the stripe in the same way, at the back of the headband, and at the front it should look like the braid continues as if it were just one stripe. We'll keep sewing until we get to the pin that marks the central cross. Once we get there, we make a closing with the yarn, we hide the thread, and we have finished one side. We'll do the same thing with the other side, and then we should have our headband. The only thing left to do is closing it to make a circle, so we'll stitch together both ends at the back. We'll stitch them together with single crochets, so we insert the hook on both ends, we bring in the yarn, make one chain, and then we'll create single crochet stitches all the way to the other side. We will be inserting the hook wherever it is possible in order to create those single crochets. The single crochet will help us hide all these threads. When we are done, we just need to cut the yarn, turn over the project, and we should have finished our headband ready to wear or be given as a gift. Well, crochet lovers, that's all for today. You already saw it is super simple to create this headband, so let's get to it. It can be done with any yarn that you have at hand. I'll see you very soon with a mini tutorial, and of course, each Thursday here on YouTube at Crochet Lovers with new tutorials so we can keep creating things together. Have a great day, crochet lovers!